Thanks for joining us in the Idea Lab. I'm Neely McQueen, and I'm hanging out with Lindsey, my good friend, a middle school pastor from Florida. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Brooklyn. Hello, everyone. And I have been in youth ministry for about 13 years now. I have two little girls, 3 years old and 6 years old. My husband is a super stud. I don't know what else you need to know.
That's great.
Good
That's
stuff.
a good start. That's a good start. But you've been talking around here a lot at this conference about justice, and you're starting this conversation about engaging students with justice. Where did that start for you?
Well, when I started in youth ministry, I came to Youth Specialties and got a resource called the Justice Mission. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but I started using it in church, and it didn't really work out so well for me. I kind of got a little bit of pushback on it. So I quietly began to try to lead students to justice in other ways and started to teach about it and figure it out for myself. And what I'm finding is that it doesn't just drop from the sky. It's not something that just happens, but you really do have to pursue it and find creative ways to do it, even places where you might get some pushback.
And when you say it doesn't just drop out of the sky, why do you say that term? Because a lot of us, maybe it's because our view of justice is simple. Is that why it doesn't just drop out of the sky, because it is more complex? Or what do you mean by it just doesn't drop out of the sky?
Well, I think in the context of youth ministry that we think sometimes if we take a mission trip, then our kids are going to understand justice issues. Or if they get this one experience, they're going to understand equality, or they're going to understand gender, or how to speak to different types of people. So it doesn't just happen that quickly. It happens over time, and it happens with a lot of intentional movement on our part, modeling it, both modeling and leading it.
That's great. And how do you make it bigger than a mission trip then? You said a little bit about modeling, but how do you make justice in your youth ministry a bigger deal than just your summer mission trip or your spring break project? How do you make it? I mean, what are things we can actually start doing to make justice a bigger deal? And maybe why? Why do we need to do that for teenagers?
Well, I think we need to do it because Jesus' first public speech was the whole mission that he was coming for and why he was there was that he came to bring good news to the poor, to set captives free, to break bondage. That was his goal, and that's the first thing that he said. And so sometimes we forget about all of that, and because it's hard. And so we have to teach teenagers how to have a prophetic imagination, what life could look like if this thing that Jesus came to do was actually lived out. But to do that, we have to give them safety because it is hard. If you ever start talking about gender issues or talking about the poor or talking about, just talk about the poor in America. It's a very hostile subject sometimes, and I don't think our teenagers really want to get involved in that. So we give them space to ask questions. We, elevate the conversation beyond yes, no, is this right or wrong? Who do we help? Who do we not help? And we start giving them opportunities to have deep lines of support. And in that support from multiple people, from parents, youth ministers, churches, organizations, they feel empowered and emboldened to do courageous things, seeking justice things.
Can you tell us a story of a student in your ministry who maybe got a glimpse of justice and kind of started to go get excited, a change of faith even happened for them?
Well, yeah, and I'm going to be sharing in my seminar later on, but there is one girl in particular. Her name is Emily. She's a junior in high school right now, but when she was in 7th grade, she was in a safe environment, deep lines of support. A couple of years we had been building up to what is justice, and we've been talking about it constantly. This one moment, she gets it, and she sees that she could do something on her own with the gifts and talents that she had. So she made some little hanging birds, and over the course of 3 years, ended up raising $50,000 for clean water. So I'm going to share about how that happened and how I was able to support her, but not just me, her parents, the church, and how that was able to mobilize a lot of other students to believe that they could stand up for someone at school without getting hurt or being disliked. There are a lot of things that we can do together to encourage each other. And her encouragement was just saying yes to something God was asking her to do.
So helping them see their gifts and how they're needed. But have you at all seen that justice has been a draw to students? They've been interested in your ministry because of what you're doing outside of the church walls? Have you seen that impact?
Yeah, I have. Whenever we get out there and we're serving or we're doing something that's outside of ourselves, it's exciting, and they love to brag about it. They love to say, hey, I got to do this. I got to serve. And sometimes I think they're excited because their friends are excited, and so maybe they'll show up and they'll realize, wait, I have to work all day, or I have to not be on my phone. I have to not be about me. And there's a real like rub there. It hurts to not be selfish. But that's the coolest thing about transformation. It's about the renewing of our mind, and the more often we do these things, the more their brains are rewired in a way that's really, really Christ-like, and it's exciting.
That's cool. And you guys do 30-hour famine a lot. And so you have middle schoolers, 6th graders, who go 30 hours without eating.
Yeah, our boys don't really sign up at all, FYI. They hate not eating, and I agree, it's not fun, but we have been encouraging them, and I'm super excited. We have a ton of boys that are interested this year. Last year, I think we had 10 out of 100. I don't know. Boys just were like, no bueno, this is not working. And but once we get a few of them involved, they start to see the benefit of it. It's not an easy sell. It's not something that we love to do, but it teaches us something really important. And there's all kinds of things. The International Justice Mission has a 24-hour experience now. There are different things that you can do in your communities. There's just tons of little stuff along the way that all added up creates a great picture of what Jesus was asking us to do in Luke 4.
Yeah. And you say it's not an easy sell. Justice is not an easy sell. But why do you keep, if it's not an easy one, why do you keep coming back to it? I mean, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit, but like, how do you keep coming back to it when, isn't that discouraging that only 10 guys showed up? Like, how do you keep coming back to selling that?
Because the hope I see in one person is enough. And just knowing that one person gets it gives me courage. They're architects of hope. The students that get it, they think things I could never think before, and it's enough to just catalyze stuff in me that wants me to keep going. And it's not just a poverty issue; it's a gender issue. It's how do we treat people in our youth ministries who are very different from us? We may not validate what they do, but we need to affirm who they are, and those are two different things. And how do you teach a teenager to do that? You show them another teenager who's doing that. And so when I see one getting it, it's so encouraging and exciting, and it's not always fun. The conversations aren't always fun. That's why it doesn't just, exist.
Right.
But it's worth it.
Have you seen the demographic of your youth ministry change? Because the students are becoming more inviting, more welcoming to people normally maybe they wouldn't have talked to?
And I'll just say I've had to change a lot over the years and just with the ebb and flow of ministry. But one thing I changed was we go to a really big, expensive camp over the summer, and I realized that it wasn't just for me to just offer that.
Yeah.
So we started offering a camp also in addition to our bigger camp. It was a day camp at our church. It's $5 a day, free if you bring a friend. And we saw a whole new demographic come into our church that I had not purposely shut out. Trust me, I would never want that. And it was so exciting to me to see that just by rewiring my programming a little bit, how it could open up doors for new people and new backgrounds, just totally different environments they're coming from. And then our students being able to have those conversations in safe places and to be able to reach out and across and understand. And I even love it when they get upset with each other. I love it when they don't get it, together. Or this group and this group aren't really friends. I like it because it gives us opportunity to work through it so that when they become adults, they have something, they have a context, they have something to hold on to get them through those next steps.